I'm a little bit under the weather this week, so I'm going to keep this video super short. But what I've been working on this week is populating levels with better configurations of enemies. I think I mentioned in last week's video, you would always, you walk into a room that's like a combat space, and you see the same enemy like 2 or 3 times. And that's not what I want to ship the game with, obviously. I want to have enemies in different interesting combinations. So I've been working a little bit this week on figuring out how that's going to work. So I'm just going to jump over to the game here real quick and sort of show this off as I play through it. So what you'll notice first of all, well, come over here, see if I can find some guys. So you got those little 2-legged guys walking around, and then you have these insects over here. And what I'm doing basically is for every room that's a combat space, I'm choosing one primary enemy and then one secondary enemy. So these little walker guys, these are the primary enemy, and then the bugs are the secondary one. You'll also notice the guy I just killed was blue, this guy up here is red. This is a prototype of a champion. You'll see it drops a lot of loot when I kill it. Right now, champions, they have, they get a palette swap, they get more health, and they drop a whole bunch of loot. And both primary and secondary enemies can be champions. Right now it's picking one of them at random from every set. If they can be a champion, it is making one of them. And that's way too, occurring way too frequently right now, so I'm going to reel that back in at some point. But basically I'm just prototyping sort of the idea of being able to turn one enemy into something else by adding some extra markup. That's mostly what I'm prototyping there. The exact details of what that means and what types of champions I'm going to support, that will come later. Let's see, what else have I done? Oh, along with that, I've also made some changes to change enemies' health values from an integer to a floating point number, so I can get finer precision in sort of fine-tuning the amount of damage that weapons do. The difference between a weapon that does 1 point of damage and 2 points of damage is huge. I need something in the middle there, and I could just scale everything up, so instead of enemies having 10 hit points, they have 100, and then that would give me more precision, but it made more sense to just go ahead and turn it into a floating point number, so yeah, I did do that refactoring recently. Let's see, at some point in this level, yeah, okay, here we go. Here's an elevator. I tweeted about this one late last week, I think. So we'll see what happens when I come up here. Alright, so I took the elevator to the top. I come back down to the bottom. Now, let's say conceivably the critical path were such that I had to get back up to the top of this platform to be able to proceed in the level. Well, I took the elevator to the top, so there's no way to get back up there, and that's why I've added this secondary plate here that allows you to control the elevator remotely. Now, I posted this on Twitter the other day, and some of the responses were like, well, why don't you just make the elevator sort of automatically come back to your level, or add a call button where you can just call it down and it moves on its own. In general, I've been trying not to ever allow the elevator to move on its own because it introduces problems where it could like pass through the player or crush the player, and there's some problems there that I don't want to have to deal with if I don't have to. So having that sort of secondary pad that just allows you to control the elevator remotely seems like the best option from a technical standpoint. Depending on whether it makes sense, from a gameplay perspective, yeah, maybe I'll look into changing that in the future, but it solves my problems for now, at least. I don't know how much I'm going to lean on elevators for the game anyway. Basically they serve the same purpose as ladders and as platforms that you can jump through, which is they allow vertical traversal in either direction. So if it doesn't make sense to have them, I can just as easily replace them with ladders, or just make ladders appear more frequently, which they already do. But yeah, I guess that's most of what I've been working on this week. I'm going to continue working on like enemy population. One of the ideas that I sort of have stubbed out, but it's not actually appearing in this level yet, is the idea that a room can have a different intensity associated with it. So for low intensity rooms, you might only have one enemy type. In high intensity rooms, you might have 3 enemy types. And what I'm hoping is that, sort of at the intersection of all those different enemy types, that's where you'll find really interesting gameplay. You know, fighting a single, you know, turret that spits rocks at you, that's not that interesting. But when you're trying to fight a biped melee enemy while a turret is spitting rocks at you, that's, you know, that's the sort of thing that hopefully dynamically pops up and makes the game interesting and fun to play. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep this video super short this week because I am a little bit under the weather. But thanks for watching. This series is supported through Patreon. I want to give a shout out to Patreon supporters Jace, Benjamin, and Opa and Nana for their contributions. You can find the links to my Patreon campaign below. But thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.